Hi guys, my name is Bjorn Ludwig. I'm a full-time triathlon coach living in Middleton in County Cork. I train athletes from total beginners all the way to the elites, from cycling to triathletes. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk you guys through how to pedal efficiently for cyclists and triathletes. So everybody has their own pedaling technique. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about how to pedal efficiently and to get the most power out of you as possible. Okay? There's going to be 3 elements that I'm going to talk about and then 3 exercises. But remember to stay all the way to the end. So the first element that I'm going to talk about is getting your bike setup done. Now, what I recommend you do is do your research and see who's the best bike setup person or bike fitter around the area. Take your time, do loads of research, ask a lot of questions and ask a lot of people's opinion as well. When it comes down to a bike setup, is the most important part of your bike is you, how you are set up, how high your seat is, how far your seat is, and making sure that you are as efficient as possible. Now, if your bike setup is wrong, let's say using your seat height, if your seat is too high, if you do 5,000 revolutions per hour, what potentially will happen is your hips will go from side to side and you dislocate your hip every pedal stroke that you do. If your seat is too low, you're going to inhibit the power that you can generate from the glutes and the quads because your range of motion will get smaller. Okay, so it's very important to get it just right. So your bike setup has to be nice and comfortable that you can go for hours and hours and days and days. So if you look at the really good pro cyclists, their cycling and their bike setup is 2 point. Now what I recommend you do as well is, if you do have a bike setup done, let's say in January, try and get it done the next January again by the same person, because your body adapts. Okay, and your flexibility changes from year to year. So what I always do is I do a bike setup every year at a specific time. So what I do is I always do it in October or November. So I have a whole winter to train through to get to the summer for my body to adapt to the setup that I have done. So sometimes what will happen is, if the seat height changes, if you have to change it within a centimeter, over time have 2 millimeters in a couple of weeks, then another 2 millimeters in a couple of weeks, and it takes your body time to adapt to the changes on your bike. Okay, so the second element that I'm going to talk about is core stability. So core stability is hugely important. Now I'm going to use running as an example. So if a runner is running, a very high class runner, if they're using their arms and their legs, their torso stays nice and steady. And exactly the same when it comes to cycling. If your hands are on the hoods and you're using your legs, your torso is not moving at all. So if you're moving from side to side when you are running or when you are cycling, your power that you are generating through your legs is lost. Okay, so a strong core, stabilizing muscles to generate the power from inside into your legs or into your arms if you do triathlon is hugely important. That's the second most important element of this video. Now within the core stability is glute activation. So if you are writing an essay, you always start at the heading and you make your way down. And that's exactly the same as when you're pedaling on a bike, or if you're running 100 meters, or if you're running a marathon. Okay, it's very important for the right muscles to fire off at the right time. Okay, so if the muscles are not firing off at the right time, i.e. your glutes, which is the strongest muscles in your legs or in your whole body, if they don't fire off at the right time, you cannot generate the power that you should be able to generate. So the glutes, as I said, is very important. They stabilize the hips. So if you do not have your hips stabilized, what will happen is your tracking will be either going out or it will come in. So if you're looking at yourself from the front, you should be drawing a straight line on the road with your knees. There shouldn't be any roundy bits like this if you look from the front. And the third element I'm going to talk about is flexibility. So if you're looking at swimmers as an example, if your range of motion is very short, you'll have to generate more RPMs to be able to go the same speed, whereby if you have a swimmer that has a long range of motion and a lot of flexibility, if they do one stroke like that, the other person has to do 5 strokes. So who's going to be more efficient? The person that does 1 stroke or the person that's going to do 5 strokes? So the more you pedal, the more energy you expend. If you have a very efficient stroke in swimming, and if you transfer that into cycling as well, if you have a very good flexibility in your torso or in your whole body, you will not be building up lactate so fast. So the bigger the range of motion in your musculature, the more efficient you will be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about 3 different exercises that you can actually do on your bike. Okay, so the first exercise is high power, low cadence. So I would recommend doing this on a trainer if you can. If you cannot do it on a trainer, just have a nice long hill. 2 or 3% gradient is perfect. So the cadence range is between 55 and 70. So it shouldn't be an FTP power number. It should be below that. So you are generating power. The muscles are working at the right times. You are telling the muscles to work at the right times, and you are stabilizing the hips. You're staying nice and steady. You are not rocking from side to side. If you start rocking from side to side, ease off. It's exactly the same as when you are going up a hill. If you're going from like this and you are fatiguing, you are wasting more energy going from side to side than actually just staying nice and steady. You have to keep the core contracted when you're doing the exercise to generate the power from inside to go through down into the pedals. So a sample session that you can do is to go 5 minutes at that cadence range, 55 to 70, then have a 2-minute recovery of easy pedaling. If you have a hill, go up for 5 minutes, turn around for 2 minutes, come down. Do that 3 to 4 times. As you adapt after 2 or 3 weeks, increase the repetitions, or what you can do as well is you can increase the time as well. So you can build up from 5 minutes, like 5 by 5 minutes, go 5 by 6 minutes, 5 by 7 minutes, and go up to by 5 by 10 minutes, or even 12 minutes by 4. So play around with that, but if your body is not ready, it's not ready. So give it time to adapt. Be very patient when you're doing the exercises, and as you get stronger, you will be able to generate that power for longer. Okay, so the second exercise I'm going to talk about today is high cadence, low power. So it's exactly the same as when you're doing a stride while you're running. If you're starting off nice and straight, you lean forward, you start nice and slow. As you go faster, the cadence increases, and that activates the right muscles to go at the right time. Okay, so again, I would recommend this doing on a trainer because you can change the resistance. If you do not have a trainer, you just go on a nice flat road. Try and make sure that it's a nice long road. What I would suggest you do in this session is do 30 seconds of each cadence range. So 30 second at 80 to 85, 30 second 85 to 90, 90 to 95, 95 to 100, 100 to 105, 105 to 110. So for me, when I get to 110, if I go after that, I start bouncing on the seat. And that's very important for you to know that every person is different. Whenever you get to a certain cadence range and you start bouncing in the seat, your body is not ready to go at that cadence. Okay, so what I recommend you do is just before you start bouncing, that's when you know that that's the right cadence for you. And then from there, when you get to 110, do that for 30 seconds, 105 to 110, then 100 to 105, and you slowly make your way back. And do that 2 to 3 times as a warm-up for a main set if you do have a steady state interval, or if you have hill climbs or something like that. Again, it's just activating and getting the muscles ready for the right. Okay, so in the last exercise I'm going to talk about is the single leg drill. So a lot of people do this, and I really do believe that it works really, really well. Now, as I said in the core stability part of this video, making sure that everything works together for the power to get generated to push down into the pedals. Okay, so if you do not have the whole system working together and working in sync, the power cannot be generated. So it's very important to work on the downward part of the stroke and to work on the upward part of the stroke. Because if you sprint in a cycling race, you don't just push down. So when the one leg pushes down, the other leg pulls up. And that's how you can actually generate a lot more power through that. Now, a lot of people say that you should be concentrating on the down and the upward stroke. But what I want you guys to do is when you go outside and you're pedaling, try not to hear the woo, 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 woo sound as you are pedaling. So if it's just a constant pedal pushing down, pulling up, you know that you're getting more efficient and you are not just working on the downward part of the pedaling stroke. Okay, so on this guy, on the single leg work, I would definitely recommend going on a trainer, because if you're going to go outside, you're going to concentrate on this one leg and you're not going to be looking at traffic. Okay, so on a trainer for 30 seconds on the right leg, 30 seconds on the left leg, and then 30 seconds together. And you can use that as a warm-up tool as well. Instead of just doing 10 minutes of a warm-up, do 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, do that 2 or 3 times. Now sometimes what happens is when people start doing this exercise, they find that their hips are getting very tight and sore. It's just because the muscles are not used to that kind of pedaling. As you do them more, maybe once or twice a week, over time you'll find that it doesn't get as sore anymore. If you do your flexibility program and your core stability program, you'll get stronger and the muscles will get a lot better in terms of being more efficient on the bike. Okay guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exactly how to do the single leg work. Now it's very important, like I said, to try this on a trainer. Be careful if you do go outside, if you do not have a trainer, because there's traffic and stuff like that. So basically, making sure that the arms are nice and relaxed, tummy nice and tight, keep the hips nice and steady. So I'm going to start with my right leg first. I clip up my left leg. As I'm pedaling with my right leg, it's very important for my left leg to stay away. Otherwise, the pedal is going to hit me on my shin, okay? So keep the leg away from the pedal if you can. And what we are looking for is the pushing down part and the pulling up part. So push down, pulling up, push down, pulling up, push down, pulling up. Now, if you're very good at this exercise, there won't be a cluck at the top of the stroke. So it's called the dead spot, okay? So I'm gonna show you exactly what it sounds like, what the dead spot sounds like, and then I'm gonna take that away, okay? So it comes up and it goes, and you hear that part over there. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to keep the tension on the chain at all times. Keep the tension on the chain at all times. So you do that for 30 seconds and then you're changing legs. Again, keeping my leg away from the pedal. Keep the hips nice and steady, tummy nice and tight. Try not to hear the clunk at the top of the pedal stroke, at the dead spots, okay? Hips nice and steady. Keep the shoulders nice and relaxed. And then after the 30 seconds, then you put both legs in. You pedal for 30 seconds. It will feel a little bit strange when you go back with both legs in, because the muscles are going, I'm not sure exactly what's going on. But when you start to take the leg out again, then the muscles are going, oh yeah, I need to work at specific times and doing different things. Do that for 30 seconds. And then you change over to the other leg. Again, try not to hear that clunk at the top of the stroke. Keep the tension on the chain at all times. And then you just pedal again with both legs. Nice and easy. There we go. Okay guys, so I'm going to say thank you very much for watching the video. If you guys want some more triathlon and cycling related stuff, click on the subscribe button, click on the bell notification, and whenever there's a new video coming up, you'll get notification. Now, I did a call for beginners 4-part series as well, which I'm going to link in this video for you guys to have a look at, and there's a lot of different videos on the way as well. So what I want you guys to do is, if you have any comments, put the comments on the comments below. If you have any questions, please send them through and I'll answer them as soon as I can. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys out on the road. Happy cycling. See you later. Bye-bye.